Hello, welcome back. I'm enjoying reading The Return of the King. Actually, since last time we talked about The Lord of the Rings, I've gotten through, I finished The Fellowship. I'm, of course, reading it this first time through this year. Boy, it's late. And I read through The Two Towers, and I've gotten a good portion of the way through The Return of the King. This edition, this back bit, a good chunk of this back part are, of course, the appendices. And so it was a little deceptive kind of picking up The Two Towers, which is a lot slimmer in comparison to this. I thought it was going to be quite a bit, but it's the appendices which are fun to peruse. Sometimes there's notes throughout that reference them. But I actually just read on Sunday my probably not my favorite chapter in The Return of the King, but certainly one of the best, and one that, interestingly, we didn't see in any sort of adaptation, actually, which is the passing of the Great Company. Now, of course, you still have like Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli in Peter Jackson's adaptation going through the Paths of the Dead, but you don't get, the Great Company as such with the rest of the Rangers and Elrond's sons. And I do think that you really kind of miss out on a good portion of that story and just the impact that part of the story has before you get to kind of the ultimate hopelessness that you kind of see with the Siege of Gondor. I'll actually show you this here, this really awesome picture in this Alan Lee edition. It has, Éowyn and Aragorn sharing a cup before he leaves, but you see in the background here the Grey Company, which I think is really fantastic. In a lot of Alan Lee's illustrations, he tries to stray from really detailing characters and really tries to focus on landscapes, and so you only get a handful of his illustrations that kind of focus in on characters. And because this Sunday was the first season of Advent, which, among other things, of course, Advent, the season of Advent is about hope, the hope for, the coming king. And I was struck particularly by this because I was reading this on Sunday, the first day of Advent, and so that was just kind of course, top of mind. But this section in the next chapter, the Muster of Rohan, where I believe it's Éomer, Éowyn, and Theoden are talking about Aragorn leaving. And again, this is just kind of the descent into this darkness, this hopelessness. The clouds are literally starting to cover the west. And so the world itself is becoming very dark. And the tone is becoming very dark. And so I'll just read this and, yeah. So what is this? The Muster of Rohan. And this is Mary. Then why has Aragorn gone that way? Asked Mary. Don't you know anything that would explain it? Unless he has spoken words to you as his friend that we have not heard, said Éomer. None now in the land of the living can tell his purpose. Greatly changed he seemed to me since I saw him first in the king's house, said Éowyn. Grimmer, older. Fey, I thought him, and like one whom the dead call. Maybe he was called, said Theoden, and my heart tells me that I shall not see him again. Yet he is a kingly man of high destiny, and take comfort in this, daughter, since comfort you seem to need in your grief for this guest. It is said that when the Aerlingus come out of the north and pass at length up the Snowbourn, seeking strong places of refuge in time of need, Brego and his son Baldur climbed the stair of the hold, and so came before the door. On the threshold sat an old man, aged beyond guess of years, tall and kingly he had been, but now he was withered as an old stone. Indeed, for stone they took him, for he moved not, and he said no word until they sought to pass him by and enter. And then a voice came out of him, as it were out of the ground, and to their amaze it spoke in the Western tongue, "The way is shut." Then they halted and looked at him, and saw that he lived still, but he did not look at them. "The way is shut," his voice said again. "It was made by those who are dead, and the dead keep it until the time comes. The way is shut." "And when will that time be?" said Baldur. But no answer did he ever get, for the old man died in that hour and fell upon his face. And no other tidings of the ancient dwellers in the mountains have our folk ever learned. Yet maybe at last the time foretold has come, and Aragorn may pass. Of course, that's very interesting. Tolkien disliked allegory in all of its manifestations, but he didn't have any issue with applicability, which lies in my freedom as the reader. And of course, there's great applicability to Aragorn as in some senses, as a Christ figure. And of course, that's the whole purpose of Advent and for the coming of Christ, is that the way is shut. And with the coming of Advent, we then move into the season of Lent, which leads up to Easter, which is the opening of the way. So I think that's just it was a very appropriate reading that I sat down and read on Sunday, of all days. And it was encouraging nonetheless. And of course, it's regarding one of my favorite sections of the Return of the King. Because again, Tolkien does this so well. He does horror, not the horror that we think of, like I'm trying to think of a horror movie and I actually can't because I don't really watch them. But horror in just a strict sense that, there are things in life and in the world to be dismayed at. And Tolkien does that very well. He does that very well with the Ringwraiths. He does that very well with the Mouth of Sauron himself, Shelob. And he does that with the just kind of how the darkness is beginning to affect the heroes, Theoden and Éomer and Merry and Éowyn. And just the passing of the Great Company and just that whole section, because if you've read it before, you know how that arc sort of kind of comes to a close and how that turns out. But I thought that was very appropriate and a lot of fun. I'm getting towards the end of reading this copy for the first time, and it's been quite fun. It's a little unwieldy most places, but I'm enjoying it. So good to see you again. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.